Okay, so I'll tell you the question number 3. Okay, I'll just tell you. So the question number 3 was, in the experiment shown, a gas is evolved. 4 groups of students have recorded their observations on the gas produced as shown in the following table. Okay, choose the correct set of observations. Note that the positive response are shown by a correct tick mark and negative by wrong signs respectively. Okay, so what basically is happening, iron sulfide is getting mixed with dilute hydrochloric acid, right? This is what exactly is happening. So now if we see, iron sulfide is of the formula of iron sulfide is FeS, and hydrochloric acid will be HCl. So this reaction happens in this manner, FeCl plus H2S. Okay, so over here H2S gas, this is a gas. Okay, H2S gas is formed. Now when we talk about H2S gas, so there are a few things. This H2S gas turns lead acetate paper black. Okay, just like we have you have litmus paper, there is one lead acetate paper also, and when H2S gas is brought near the lead acetate paper, the paper turns black. Okay, so this is one point. The second point is it is colorless. Okay, the H2S gas is colorless, smells like rotten egg, and then one more thing that happens is it does not catch fire. Okay, so these are the properties of the H2S gas. So now you will be able to solve it. Catherine, now is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so any other doubts? Okay, so we'll move on to the NCERT part now. Okay, so have you tried solving the NCERT? Any of you? Or Catherine or Charvi, have you tried solving the NCERT? So should I discuss the whole NCERT, or just we should discuss the questions in which you have problem, whatever you are comfortable with? What do you suggest? The whole NCERT or just the problem questions? Okay, Catherine, Charvi, what do you feel will be correct? Okay, problem questions. Yeah. Okay, so we'll be I'll read out all the questions. Okay, so wherever you will be having a problem or there will be any confusion, you can ask me about it. Okay, so we'll start. We'll first discuss the exercise questions. Okay, so the first question is, which separation techniques will you apply for separation of the following? Okay, so we need to tell about the separation techniques. The first one is sodium chloride from its solution. Sodium chloride from its solution. Okay, so if this is a question, Can anyone tell me what will be the answer to this? Which separation technique will we use? This is basically salt from water solution. Sodium chloride is salt only. So how do we separate salt from water? Evaporation. Okay. Charvi, is it clear to you also? Yeah. So in this manner, we need to name the separation techniques. So second one we have is ammonium chloride from a mixture containing sodium chloride and ammonium chloride. Okay. So which process will we use? Sublimation. Catherine, is it clear to you why we are using sublimation over here? So second one is sublimation, because ammonium chloride can undergo sublimation and therefore they will be separated. Now the third one is small pieces of metal in the engine oil of a car. So how can we separate these small pieces of metal from the engine oil of a car? Anyone? Okay, by separating funnel. And what else? Catherine, what do you think? Do you know the answer, Catherine? Yeah, filtration will be more appropriate over here. Okay, filtration will be more appropriate. We can use your method also, Charvi, but more appropriate will be they both are basically the same only, but name of the process will be filtration. The fourth one is different pigments from an extract of flower petal. So different pigments from an extract of flower petal. Can anyone tell this one? Different pigments from an extract of flower petals. Okay, Charvi is saying chromatography. Catherine is saying centrifugation. Okay, so over here, the process that we'll be using is chromatography. Okay, so because all the pigments in a flower petal, they are soluble in each other. So what we do is we make an extract out of it and then we perform chromatography. So also there are different types of chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B. So also if we want to separate the pigments of these leaves also, then also we do chromatography only. Okay. Now the next one that we have is fifth, butter from curd. How do we do that? Butter from curd. Can anyone tell? Okay. Both of you have said centrifugation. That is absolutely correct. The correct answer is centrifugation. Okay. Now the next one, that is oil from water. Oil from water. How can we separate? Chavi, in this case, we'll be using the separating funnel, which you said, okay? Because while we were saying, talking about the iron pieces, it is not necessary that the iron pieces, they can be small also in size, so they can also flow through the funnel, okay? So this will be using separating funnel, because the water and oil, they will form separate layers, and then we can separate it using the funnel. Now the seventh one is tea leaves from tea. Tea leaves from tea. How will we do this? Catherine has said filtration. What do you think, Charvi? Filtration is absolutely correct. Okay. So filtration we'll do. Now the next one that we have is iron pins. Iron pins from sand. Okay, we can do hand picking. And what else? Charvi, what do you think we can do? Okay, Charvi is saying by using magnet, so that will be easier method. Okay, so using magnet, we can separate it using magnet. Okay, is it clear to you, Catherine? Now the next one we have is wheat grains from husk. Catherine is saying winnowing, and what do you say, Charvi? Yeah, the correct answer is winnowing only. You must have studied this in the chapter crop production and management. And the last one that we have is fine mud particles suspended in water. So how can we separate this? And what do you think, Charvi? Catherine is saying chromatography. What is your answer? Okay, filtration is correct over here. Filtration we'll be using because when we talk of chromatography, it is used to separate two miscible liquids, okay? Two liquids which are mixed with each other. So over here, these are mud particles and not a liquid. So we'll be using filtration, okay? Is it clear to all of you? Okay. So now we'll move ahead. So the next question, distillation is when you have difference in the boiling points. Okay, when there is a difference in the boiling point of the solute and solvent. So if we talk about the muddy water, we can use distillation. All the mud will remain inside the container only, but doing so much setup for distillation, it's better to use filtration and separate it. Okay, like there are more than one methods which you can use for certain things, but we always prefer the easier one. So now the next question reads, write the steps you would use for making tea. Use the words solution, solvent, solute, dissolve, soluble, insoluble, filtrate, and residue. Okay, so what is the solvent while you are making tea? Okay, so it can be milk or water. Okay, so this is basically, these are the solvent. And so what are the solute? And what are the solutes? Tea leaves and sugar. Okay, that's absolutely correct. Now they all together form a solution, and then the solution is poured. They form a solution. I'm just writing the points. You can write it as a paragraph. Solvent, solutes, they form a solution which is poured through a strainer. Okay, so now the now you can say the insoluble parts. Okay, the insoluble part, that are the tea leaves. The insoluble part remains on strainer as residue. Okay, residue basically means the left out. Okay, then filtrate. Basically using strainer means filtration. So whatever we get after filtration is filtrate, is poured into cups, and then the solution is known as tea. Okay, so this is how you scientifically write the process of making tea. Is it clear to both of you? So you want to note this down, or should we move ahead? Okay, so we'll move ahead, don't worry. So the next question is, explain the following. Okay, so the first one is saturated solution. So you both know what a saturated solution is, right? Do you have any confusion in it? You know what saturated solution is? So do you want me to discuss it, or you'll be able to write it down on your own? Okay, so now next we have is pure substance. So you know what pure substance is? So you can write this down on your own also, right? You can also write this down on your own. Okay, that's good. So next we have is colloid. So will you be able to write down what a colloid is? Also, can you give me an example of colloid? Alloy is basically a solution, not exactly a colloid. Okay, alloy is something else. Colloid, you can say milk, as we talked about one. Then fog, the table which we made, remember? Charvi, is it clear to you also? Okay. Yeah, there are many examples. That's correct. So now next we have is suspension. Okay, so can you write about suspension? So this question, that is uh, question number 4, you can do on your own, right? So we'll move ahead. And the next question is, classify each of the following as a homogeneous or a heterogeneous mixture. Okay, so I'll write down the substance. Okay, just a moment, I'll check. Maybe I have not jotted down the question. Just give me a minute, I'll check and tell you. Yeah, I'm just checking. Don't worry. If we have missed, we'll take up this question. Okay. Okay, so we have the question number 3, which says, Pragya tested the solubility of 3 different substances at different temperatures and collected the data as given below. Okay, so there is a table. Do you guys have NCRT with you? Do you guys have NCRT with you? Okay, so we can just discuss the table. I won't be drawing over here. So the substance dissolved and the temperature is given. Okay, so potassium nitrate, you know the temperature in Kelvin, right? You don't have any confusions over there. Okay, So now it's given that the results are given in the following table as grams of substance dissolved in 100 gram of water to form a saturated solution. Okay, so if at 283 Kelvin, we add 21 grams of potassium nitrate in 100 grams of water, then a saturated solution will be formed. Now the question is, what mass of potassium nitrate should be needed to produce a saturated solution of potassium nitrate in 50 grams of water at 313 Kelvin? So the potassium nitrate, we need 62 grams of potassium nitrate at 313 Kelvin to produce 100 gram. So for 50 grams, we'll be needing 62 divided by 2, which is equal to 31 grams. Okay, is it clear to you? This one is clear to you, both of you, the first part? Okay, see the table, which the table tells that at 313 Kelvin, 62 grams of potassium nitrate needed for 100 gram water. Okay, this is clear to you, this statement? Is this statement clear to you? Okay, so now we need to make 50, we have 50 gram water. So how much potassium nitrate will we need? We'll just divide 62 into half, as the water is reduced to half. So the amount of potassium nitrate will also become half. So it will become 31 gram. Okay, is it clear to you now? Anyone having any doubts? Okay, so we'll move ahead. The second part says, Pragya makes a saturated solution of potassium chloride in water at 353 Kelvin and leaves the solution to cool at room temperature. What would she observe as the solution cools? Explain. Okay. So what is the room temperature, average room temperature that we can take? Let's say average room temperature can be 303 Kelvin. Okay, we'll take this as our average room temperature, which is 30 degree. Now she has 353 Kelvin, and therefore she had to add 167 grams of potassium chloride. Sorry, she had to add how many potassium chloride? 54 grams of potassium chloride. 54 gram potassium chloride. Okay, this is clear to you? Now it is saying that the temperature is decreasing. So if you see the table, and therefore we observe that as the temperature decreases, that is as temperature is less, amount of solute also decreases. Right? Is it this much is clear to you? This much is clear to both of you? So now when she mixed, it was at 353 Kelvin, so 54 gram. Okay, Charvi has asked that how to separate small pieces of metal in the engine oil of a car. So you can do this by filtration. Okay. Is it clear, Charvi? So this much is clear to both of you, right? So now when she mixed, the temperature was 353 Kelvin, so she had to mix 54 grams. But now as it is cooling down, and suppose it comes to 313 Kelvin, so the amount which it can hold becomes 40 grams, right? Therefore, there is excess of potassium chloride present. Therefore, it will excess potassium chloride will settle down. Excess potassium chloride will settle down. Okay, is it clear to you? Charvi, is this clear to you also? Okay, so we'll move ahead. The third question is find the solubility of each salt at 293 Kelvin. Which salt has the highest solubility at this temperature? So if we see at 293 Kelvin, the highest solubility is of ammonium chloride. Okay, you can directly see and answer this question. So this won't be this won't be a problem for you. Is it clear to both of you, the third part? Okay, then the fourth part says, what is the effect of change in temperature on solubility of a salt? Okay, so we clearly see when temperature increases, solubility also increases. Okay, so this question is clear to you all now. The question number 3 is clear. Anyone having any doubts in this question now? In the first 4 questions, any confusion? Okay, so now we'll move ahead. And we'll discuss the next question, which says, sorry, classify each of the following as homogeneous or heterogeneous mixture. Okay, so we have soda water, wood, air, soil, vinegar, and filtered tea. Okay, so which one is soda water? Is it homogeneous or heterogeneous? Okay, you can write HM for homogeneous and HT for heterogeneous. Okay, so while answering, you can send your answers through chat, where you can write HM for homogeneous and HT for heterogeneous. So soda water, is it homogeneous or heterogeneous? Yes, soda water is homogeneous. And then wood. What about wood? Wood is heterogeneous. Air. Air will be homogeneous. Okay, air will be homogeneous. We have discussed it as an example. And then what about soil? What about soil? Soil will be heterogeneous. Vinegar. Vinegar is homogeneous. And filtered tea. Okay, so filtered tea, you can put in both the categories as homogeneous or heterogeneous also, because at times it is not completely filtered. So it depends upon you, but I feel you should put it as heterogeneous only. Okay. So is it clear to you all? So this question is also clear. Okay. So now the next question is, how can you tell, or how would you confirm that a colorless liquid given to you is pure water? So how will you confirm this, that the liquid given to you is pure water or not? Anyone who can answer this? Oh, okay, Catherine is saying that boiling temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. So basically what we do in this case is, we take that colorless liquid and we start boiling it. Okay, and then what happens is, as you boil it, so if the water boils exactly at 100 degrees Celsius, so that will be pure water. But if even if it boils at 101 degrees Celsius, it won't be pure water. Okay, so it has to boil precisely at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, is it clear to you? So this question is also clear to you, right? So now question number 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, question number, the rest of the questions, which are question number 7, which says, which of the following materials fall in the category of a pure substance? Okay, so I'll read out the options for you. They are, okay, I'll write the options down. Ice, this is 7 that we are discussing. Ice is there, milk, iron, hydrochloric acid, calcium oxide, mercury, brick, wood, and air. So which of these are pure substances? Okay, ice is there. Ice is a pure substance. And then iron is a pure substance. Okay, I'll tell you the answers. Don't worry. Iron, HCl is pure substance. Then calcium oxide is also pure substance, and mercury is a pure substance. Okay, rest all are not pure substances. Is it clear? Only these which I have circled, because when we talk of wood, just now, just above in the above question that we discussed, you guys only told that wood is a heterogeneous mixture. So how can it be a pure substance, right? And then when we talk about milk, so when the milk which we get isn't exactly the pure milk. First of all, there are a lot of uh, additives in the milk also. Okay, just for preservation purposes, it is pasteurized. So if we talk about completely pure substances, so the ones which I have encircled are the pure substances. Okay, is it clear to you people? So now we'll move ahead. Okay, calcium oxide's short form. Okay, it is CaO. Okay, now question number 8. Question number 8 says identify the solutions among the following. Okay, so there are question number 8: soil, seawater, air, coal, and soda water. So which of these are solution? Okay, seawater, soda water, what else? Air is also a type of solution only. Okay, yeah, Charvi, air is also one solution. So these are the 3 solutions. Now moving on to the question number 9, which says which of the following will show Tyndall effect? So we have salt solution, milk, copper sulfate solution, and starch solution. Okay, so colloids show Tyndall effect. Okay, only colloids can show Tyndall effect. So which among these are colloids? Salt solution is not salt solution is a solution. Okay, I'm talking about colloids. So we see milk is an emulsion, which is a colloid, and also starch solution is also an example of a colloid. So these are two colloids, and only colloids can show Tyndall effect. So only these two can show Tyndall effect. Is it clear to you people? And then question number 10, we have classify the following into elements, compounds, and mixture. Okay, so this I want you all to do on your own. You can discuss with me in the next class. We will discuss all the questions that I'm asking you to do on your own. We'll discuss in the next class. Okay, so don't worry if you have any doubts. Also, the question number 11, which is saying that which of the following are chemical changes, that also you can do on your own, I feel, because physical and chemical changes you have studied in your previous classes also. But don't still give it a try. If you have any issues, we'll discuss all these questions in the next class. Okay, whatever I'm telling you to do on your own, we'll discuss all these questions. Okay, so everything is clear to everyone. Anyone having any doubts in today's class? Okay, so we'll end today's class over here only. Thank you, everyone.